Every scrap of metal, every twisted girder, every battered plank seemed to hum with a quiet anticipation. For the first time in many cycles, the city's engines roared back to life, shaking the foundations of the floating scrap haven with a deep, resonant pulse. Kael stood at the heart of this rebirth, his lean frame silhouetted against the glowing machinery. His dark hair, streaked with early grey, caught the flickering light as he wiped grime from his hands, eyes sharp and alert despite the exhaustion etched into his weathered face. Around him, the city's stirred roofs creaked, gears clanked, and the toxic sea's murky waves lapped at the hulls with a renewed rhythm. The engine's revival was more than mechanical restoration. It was a beacon of hope. The hum traveled like a pulse through Steelbone's veins, reaching every corner where weary inhabitants toiled and dreamed. Faces once drawn tight with fatigue softened, and hesitant smiles flickered like fragile flames in the encroaching dusk. Lena moved through the crowd, her soft features radiant under the dimming sky. The satchel of herbs at her side seemed almost sacred, a symbol of healing both physical and emotional. She paused near Kael, who turned to meet her gaze with a tired but genuine smile. Without words, their shared history spoke volumes, the losses they carried, the promise they made to protect this fragile sanctuary. Together, they found a weathered bench overlooking the endless toxic sea, its surface reflecting the dying light in sickly shades of green and amber. The air was thick with the scent of rust and salt, a constant reminder of the world beyond their fragile walls. "We've come far," Lena said quietly, her voice steady despite the tremor beneath it, not just in fixing the engines, but in holding on to each other. Kael nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon where dark clouds churned ominously. "We have too, for Steelbone, for everyone who believes in this place." Their hands brushed briefly, a small comfort amid the scars that remained. It was a moment of tenderness, fragile yet fierce, a quiet promise forged in shared pain. Elsewhere, Myra paced beneath flickering lamplight, her fiery hair a wild flame against the recovering cityscape. Muscles taut, eyes blazing with determination, she practiced her combat forms with relentless focus. Each movement was a testament to resilience, a refusal to be broken by past wounds or uncertain futures. "You're pushing too hard," Joran's gentle voice interrupted her. The slender, pale tech specialist approached. Glasses cracked from past accidents catching the light as he offered a small smile. Mira paused, breathing heavily. "I have to be ready, for whatever comes next." Joran nodded, understanding the fire that drove her. "We all do, but strength comes from balance, too." Nearby, Grav adjusted his heavy weapons with pragmatic efficiency, his broad shoulders and scarred face a constant presence of protection. The crew gathered around, their conversations weaving through memories of loss and glimmers of hope, strengthening the bonds that had carried them through the darkest days. Yet, even amid this fragile revival, the sea whispered warnings. From the far reaches, a sudden mechanical screech shattered the evening calm, harsh, grating sound that sent a ripple of unease through the assembled crew. Heads turned, eyes narrowing toward the shadowed horizon. Kael's jaw tightened. The warden's reach hasn't ended. Lena's hand found his arm, steadying. "Then we keep watch." Together, as the engines thrummed steadily beneath their feet, powering the city's slow renewal, the crew understood that their fight was far from over. But for now, in this moment of shared strength and hope amid desolation, they stood unbroken, ready to face whatever tides the toxic sea would bring. Nights settled over Steelbone, stars obscured by a haze of pollution and storms. The city breathed anew, its lights flickering like distant beacons in the endless dark. And somewhere beyond the horizon, the sea's whisper promised more trials yet to come. Kael looked out once more, determination burning in his sharp eyes. This is our home. We survive. We endure. And with that, Steelbone's legacy surged forward, fierce, bittersweet, and unyielding. The engine's roar was a symphony of survival, a promise that even in the face of relentless decay and threat, life could forge a path forward. The bonds forged on this battered city were not just of necessity, but of choice, a found family standing firm against the endless toxic tide. Yet the distant screech echoed ominously, a reminder etched into the heart of every soul aboard Steelbone. The sea was never truly at rest, and neither, they knew, could they be. Amidst this mechanical symphony, Captain Kael stood before his crew, the weight of his gaze sweeping over familiar faces. His dark hair, streaked with early grays, caught the flickering light of overhead bulbs, revealing the lines etched by countless sleepless nights and battles fought not just against the toxic sea, but against the doubts that had long shadowed his leadership. "We've come far," Kael began, voice steady but carrying the gravity of his intent. "But the days ahead demand more than one voice at the helm. Our strength lies not in a single captain, but in all of us, united." Murmurs rippled through the gathered crew, a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. Kael's eyes settled on Myra, her fiery red hair pulled back tightly, her green eyes sharp and unwavering despite the tension. Beside her, Jorin adjusted his cracked glasses, a quiet determination shining in his pale features. "Mira," Kael continued, "you'll take up the mantle of field leadership. Your courage and tactical mind have been our shield." Mira's jaw tightened, a flicker of pride tempered by the weight of responsibility. "I won't let you down," she said, voice firm. "And Jorin," Kael said, turning to the slender scholar, "your knowledge of ancient tech and calm under pressure are vital. You'll oversee our defenses and technological advancements." Jorin nodded, a rare smile breaking through his usual reserve. "I'm ready." The shift was more than symbolic, it was a necessary evolution. For too long, Kael had borne the burdens of leadership alone, his trust issues a silent barrier between him and those he cared for most. This moment marked a departure, a new order born from hardship and hope. Outside, atop Steelbone's highest scrap platforms, Myra led a rigorous training session. The toxic sun beat down through a haze of smog, casting a harsh glow over the makeshift battleground. Scouts practiced maneuvers with a precision born of necessity, their movements sharp and deliberate. Myra's voice cut through the air, equal parts command and encouragement. "Remember, the sea watches us always. Stay sharp, trust your instincts, and watch each other's backs." Below, the endless toxic sea churned with a muted reverberation, a constant reminder of the dangers lurking beyond their fragile sanctuary. Yet here, amidst the rusted metal and ragged sails, hope flickered fiercely. Meanwhile, deep within the labyrinthine corridors of Steelbone's workshops, Jorin huddled over a cluttered workbench. Ancient schematics, yellowed and brittle, lay spread before him as he explained new defensive technologies to Grav and Tess. His voice, once hesitant, now carried a quiet confidence that filled the confined space with a sense of progress. These modifications could enhance our mechanical beast's agility and resilience, Jorin said, pointing to intricate diagrams. "If we retrofit our defenses, we might finally tip the scales in our favor." Grav grunted approval, his broad shoulders tense with anticipation. Tess, young and nimble, absorbed every word, her quick eyes reflecting the flickering light of soldering irons and humming machinery. Not far from the mechanical heart of the city, Lena moved gently among the communal garden's sparse greenery. Her sun-kissed skin and soft features contrasted with the harshness of Steelbone's environment. She carefully tended herbs, her fingers deft and sure, even as she exchanged a quiet smile with Kael, who had joined her in seeking a moment's respite. "The city heals, slowly," Lena said softly, her voice a balm against the ever-present tension. "And so do we." Kael nodded, the lines of fatigue momentarily softened by the warmth in her eyes. Their shared pasts, marked by loss and survival, formed an unspoken bond, one that lent strength to their fragile hope. As night fell, the floating city settled into an uneasy calm. The engines hummed with renewed vigor, their steady pulse a lifeline against the encroaching darkness. The crew, united under a new order, prepared to face the challenges looming over Steelbone's horizon. Yet beneath the surface of this fragile unity, old doubts stirred. Could shared leadership withstand the trials to come? Would trust truly overcome the scars of the past? The answers lay ahead, drifting like the city itself, its certain but unbroken. The toxic sea whispered its eternal warning, but Steelbone's heart beat on, fierce and unyielding. Kael stood at the prow of their vessel, Steelbone's battered engines humming beneath his feet, a steady vibration that thrummed through his bones. The city they called home, a fragile giant of scrap and hope, drifted silently behind them, its patchwork metal hull catching the dying light. Around him, the sea shimmered with an unnatural glow, the toxic waters alive with faint bioluminescent pulses that seemed to breathe and pulse like a living beast. Kael's eyes narrowed against the biting wind, sharp as ever despite the streaks of grey threading through his dark hair. The voyage had been long, fraught with peril, yet the crew's spirits had not waned. But now a new unease settled over them like a gathering storm. He could feel it in the subtle shifts of the air, the way the waves whispered secrets just beyond reach. In the cramped control room, Joran hunched over the flickering panels, his slender fingers tracing the lines of data with careful precision. His cracked glasses caught the eerie green glow emitted from the console, reflecting the pulse of an unfamiliar signal that had appeared in the depths below. The artifact they had retrieved was stabilizing Steelbone, but this new mystery beckoned, a siren call from the abyss. Captain Joran's voice was low, laced with both excitement and caution. "There's something down there, something alive, or at least active. The readings don't match any known mechanical beast or scavenger vessel." Kael's jaw tightened. "Can it be trusted?" Joran shook his head. "Unknown, but it's consistent, rhythmic, almost like a beacon." Outside, Myra was sharpening her blades on the deck, the rasping sound slicing through the twilight. Her fiery red hair caught the last light, casting a fiery halo around her determined face. She glanced toward Tess, who stood nearby, muscles coiled like a panther ready to spring. Both felt the weight of the moment. The voyage had changed them, all tested their limits, and forged them into a family bound by steel and survival. Yet the sea still held secrets they had yet to unravel. "Whatever's out there," Myra said, voice low but fierce, "we face it together. No more doubts." Tess nodded, eyes sharp and alert. "We've survived worse." Down in the communal quarters, Lena moved quietly from one injured crew member to another, her touch gentle yet sure. The soft scent of herbs mingled with the metallic temps of machinery and sweat. Grav worked nearby, his broad shoulders bent over engine parts, the scarred lines on his face deepening as he tightened bolts and calibrated systems. Their whispered conversations carried a fragile hope, even as a distant mechanical screech echoed across the water, ominous reminder that danger was never far. Kael entered, his voice steady but carrying the weight of command. The signal is a new threat or an opportunity. Either way, we cannot ignore it. We will investigate at first light. Murmurs rippled through the crew. Some faces showed hope, others shadowed uncertainty. Kael met each gaze with a silent promise. No matter what lay ahead, they would face it as one. Night deepened, the sea's eerie glow casting shifting shadows that danced like ghosts around the vessel. The mechanical beasts that once haunted their nightmares seemed to retreat into the darkness, but the pulse of the signal grew stronger, insistent, like a heartbeat beneath the waves. Kael returned to the prow, eyes scanning the horizon where sky and sea blurred into a canvas of endless possibility and lurking menace. "The sea whispers," he murmured, "and we must listen." As the crew settled in for the long night, dreams mingled with whispers of the unknown. Steelbone's legacy was not just survival, it was the courage to face the mysteries that lay beyond the scrap, beyond the toxic sea, and beyond the fragile hope they clung to. And somewhere deep beneath the waves, the signal pulsed on, waiting. The dawn would bring decisions, dangers, and discoveries that none could yet foresee. But for now, the sea's whisper was a promise, a challenge to the scavengers of Steelbone to journey further into the unknown, to face what lurked in the shadows, and to carve a future from the wreckage of the past. The voyage was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. On the main deck, the scavenger crew gathered beneath the sprawling scrap walls of their floating city, the sun sinking low to cast a molten glow over the patchwork metropolis. The engines hummed steadily now, their steady rhythm a balm to frayed nerves and weary souls alike. Around the flickering light of salvaged lamps, laughter and murmurs of camaraderie wove through the salty breeze. Kael stood a little apart, leaning against a rusted railing, his sharp eyes tracing the familiar faces of his crew. Myra's fiery hair caught the last rays of sunlight as she animatedly recounted a narrow escape from a mechanical beast, her hands slicing through the air with passion. Beside her, Joran listened quietly, his cracked glasses reflecting the glow of the lamps, eyes alight with curiosity and growing confidence. Lena moved gracefully among them, offering a warm smile here, a steady hand there, her satchel of herbs and remedies a symbol of hope and healing. Grab's deep voice rumbled as he joined in the conversation, his broad-shouldered frame unmistakable even in the gathering twilight. Tonight was different. There was no urgent call to action, no looming threat demanding immediate response. Instead, there was space, precious and rare, to simply be, to breathe, to remember what they fought for beyond survival. Tess, the youngest and fleetest among them, darted through the crowd, her keen eyes bright with excitement as she shared her latest scouting report. Old Marek took his place near the communal fire, his weathered hands gripping the worn wood of his storytelling staff. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows across his face as he began to weave tales of the sea's ancient secrets and the lost civilizations swallowed by its toxic depths. "Listen close," Merrick's voice rasped, drawing the crew into the spell of his stories. "For in the depths lie not just ruin, but lessons, warnings etched in rust and bone. Our path forward lies in remembering, in standing together against the tide." Kael's gaze met Lena's across the circle. In her eyes he saw a reflection of his own hopes and fears, the scars they bore, the burdens they carried, yet also the resilience that had brought them here, against all odds, to this moment of fragile peace. Myra, catching his eye, gave a small nod, the firelight igniting the fierce loyalty within her. "We've come too far to let it all slip away," she said quietly, voice steady despite the tempest that sometimes roared beneath her surface. "Together, we're stronger than any storm or beast." Joran stepped forward, clutching a fragment of ancient schematic he'd uncovered during their voyage. "The artifact was never just a tool," he said thoughtfully. "It's a symbol of what we can rebuild, of the balance we must strive for." Their voices mingled in a chorus of determination, each word a brick laid in the foundation of their found family. The toxic sea beyond Steelbone's walls was a constant reminder of the dangers still lurking the Warden's shadow. The relentless mechanical beasts, the unforgiving elements. But within the scrap city, beneath the patchwork roofs and welded steel, a different kind of strength flourished. Lena moved among them again, her hands gentle as she tended to a small scrape on Tess's arm, a quiet act of care that spoke volumes about the bonds between them. "Every wound healed is a promise kept," Lena murmured, eyes meeting Tess's with a warmth that melted away fear. Grav approached Kael then, his scarred face softened by a rare smile. "We've got the tools, the knowledge, and now the will," he said gruffly. "Steelbone can stand long after the sea tries to swallow it whole." The city's engines thrummed louder, a steady heartbeat beneath their feet. Above, the stars blinked into existence, distant and cold, but also eternal. Kael's thoughts turned to the journey ahead, the unknown challenges lurking beyond the horizon, the hard choices yet to be made. But tonight was theirs. "Here," Kael said, raising his voice to carry over the gathering. "We are not just survivors. We are a family, bound not by blood, but by every scar, every shared moment, every sacrifice. And as long as we stand together, Steelbone will endure." A cheer rose up, raw and hopeful, echoing across the scrap city like a beacon. The toxic sea may stretch endlessly around them, but inside, the crew's unity shone like a flame against the dark. In the face of desolation, they had found something more precious than any artifact: each other. As the night deepened, stories flowed freely, laughter mingling with quiet reflections. Old Marek's tales wove threads of past and future, while Myra's fiery spirit sparked plans for the days to come. Joran's insights promised new understanding, and Lena's healing touch soothed both body and soul. Kael lingered on the edge of the gathering, watching the faces illuminated by firelight and hope. The scars etched on their skin and hearts were testament to battles fought and losses endured. Yet in their eyes burned a fierce, bittersweet determination, a promise that no matter what storms brewed beyond, they would face them together. The found family of Steelbone stood united, a mosaic of strength forged in hardship, ready to write the next chapter of their legacy on the ever-shifting scrap sea. And as the first chill of dawn crept over the horizon, Kael felt, for the first time in a long while, that maybe, just maybe, they could truly survive. But the sea whispered still, its secrets far from fully revealed, its challenges far from over. The journey was not yet done, not by a long stretch. And that, Kael thought with a wry smile, was exactly how it should be. The endless sea, once a merciless adversary, now lay quiet, its acidic waves lapping gently against the hulls of the city's patchwork vessels. The city itself seemed to breathe again, a slow, steady pulse emanating from beneath the core where the artifact had been carefully integrated. Kael stood at the edge of the highest tower, his lean frame rigid despite the weariness etched into every line of his weathered face. The artifact's soft glow lingered in his palm, its rhythmic pulse a stark contrast to the chaotic energy of the journey that had brought them here. Around him, the crew gathered, Mira with her fiery hair catching the last light, Joran's pale frame hunched slightly, Lena's warm smile offering comfort, and Grav's broad shoulders a fortress of silent strength. "It's not just a machine," Joran whispered, eyes wide behind cracked glasses. "It's a promise." Myra's gaze flickered to Kael, a rare softness breaking through her usual fire. "A promise we fought for," she said, voice low but steady. Kael nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. "A promise to survive, to protect what we've built." The city's engines thrummed beneath their feet, the sound a balm to the nerves frayed by months of uncertainty and loss. Steelbone was alive once more, but the scars of battle, of betrayal, sacrifice, and bitter struggle remained etched in the hearts of its people. Lena stepped closer, her satchel of herbs swinging lightly against her hip. "We've healed the city's wounds," she said softly, "but we must also heal ourselves." Grav grunted in agreement, crossing his scarred arms. "And keep an eye out. The sea doesn't forget, and neither do the beasts." His gaze swept the horizon, shadowed and endless. Kael's eyes followed the line where sea met sky, a silent challenge in the glowing red lenses of the distant warden's patrols. The tyrant's shadow still loomed, a reminder that peace was fragile and fleeting. Yet beneath the weight of that menace, a fierce determination burned in Kael's chest. "We've come through the worst," he said, voice steady despite the storm of memories swirling within. "Together, whatever comes next, we face it as one." Myra stepped beside him, her usual brashness tempered by something deeper. "No more running, no more hiding." Joran offered a tentative smile, the quiet scholar now tempered by hard-won courage. "This is our home, our future." The sun finally slipped beyond the horizon, leaving the city bathed in the cold light of stars reflected in the toxic sea. The artifact's glow pulsed softly beneath their feet, a beacon in the endless night. Kael took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past and the pull of the future intertwine. The journey had ended, but the voyage of survival was eternal. Steelbone was adrift, but unbroken, a testament to the scars born and the hope that still flickered fiercely amid desolation. As the first stars pierced the velvet sky, Kael's gaze hardened into resolve. The sea whispered its ancient secrets, and the city whispered back with the steady hum of renewed life. Together, they would face whatever storms lay ahead, as a family forged in fire, in loss, and in unyielding hope. And so, under the watchful eyes of mechanical beasts, now silent and tamed, the legacy of Steelbone was written not in metal alone, but in the hearts of those who dared to endure. But even as the crew celebrated their hard-won peace, a faint ripple stirred the surface of the toxic sea, a reminder that the horizon held mysteries yet to be unraveled, and challenges waiting just beyond the dawn. The voyage was far from over.